In this false reality that we're in, there are people of certain genetic bloodlines and certain genetic types that come to certain areas, that flock to certain areas, and by being in a certain area in a particular time, it brings their body physical pleasure that is often confused with happiness and spiritual evolution. There's a lot of deceptions here in Portland about this being a green city when it's anything but. There's a greater reality, a greater underbelly that most people are unconscious of and really don't want to know anything about. But a lot of people come here and they seem really happy because they're just not where they used to be. They're not in Philadelphia, they're not in LA, they're not in Chicago, they're not in the Midwest. They're in a city with a lot of different energies that they can feed off of, they can use, higher and lower energies. It is an intense city with highs and lows in terms of the energy field. Now, a lot of people don't understand this and they never thought about this, and sometimes, often, I'm the first person to ever share this perspective with someone that there is a duality. There's a duality to this city. People know that in regards, some of them claim they do in terms of the world, but the duality of the city is something that most do not seem to be cognitive of. So I see lots of different types, and this is not slandering anyone or any group, but there's certain patterns of humans migrating, and so there's a lot of Irish here, a lot of redheads. I've been in other American cities. There's a pretty high amount of people here in Portland that looks like they're from the same parts of Europe. So there's tribalism. Some can confuse it with racism. When they see people that look different, that aren't in their tribe, aren't in their perceived bloodline, they act like they're not even there. They just walk right by them, and there are obviously some genetic trait differences in terms of appearance. And so some people look at certain appearances and they make certain judgments, and the media also plays a big role in this. So, you know, there are certain physical appearances that certain bloodlines or types, when they are unconscious, I'm not saying all act this way, but a certain majority. When people become unconscious, it doesn't matter who you are, what your gender is, what your sex is. If you are unconscious, you will act in an unconscious manner. And there will be fault systems, programs in your mind, especially in relation to other people. So in this false reality, with the fragment of consciousness, there is so much unneeded fear and tribalism that people hold on to because they think it will help them survive. It's a world that seems unstable. There are wars right now. There's lots of racial conflict. The tribalism that people bring out is their way of finding, you know, some sort of structure that they're familiar with. And a lot of that comes down to the people that they're around, what they look like, what their customs are, the language that they use. And I've been to Rainbow family gatherings and stood out from the crowd, and people look at me like I'm a cop. I've lived in this town my whole life and stood outside of the circles. Even because of my spiritual leanings and talking about the dark side, how we have to be aware of its influence in government, I stand outside of most conspiracy research groups that would rather stay on the government, false flag disinformation, and other information related to the New World Order, but not how we as communities can create independent colonies of liberty and freedom. And that is our responsibility. I believe this. I believe this to be true, that this is our responsibility. So people have been drawn here in different epochs of times. During the solar maximum cycles, there's many people that tend to move in and out of Portland. There's a very strong energy here, and it pulls people in and it spits people out. Sometimes the people that are spit out are called back or drawn back or whatever to this twisted place, with also glimpses of beauty. What I will say is that physical beauty, physical pleasure, the sexual senses, and all those things can be enjoyed and are not inherently evil. But when people get trapped by the five senses, by physical appearances, when they become slaves to their lower cravings, and when they're ignorant of their own sex drive, how some of our sex drives come from our ancestral history and the barbaric world of the past. So the behaviors are carried forward now because of what we are as a human being, what we've become, and the overall state of consciousness today on the planet. It's all affecting us. So enjoy your stay here. If you're new here, just understand the energies that have drawn people in. This is not a happy collective. I should start a website called therealportlandia.com and talk about some of these issues that people are considering moving to Portland. They should know about the dark side. They should know that there's great apathy here in regards to sex trafficking. They should know that women are very guarded here, especially around men of color. People should know that this is very much a white-dominated society and system. And by noting such things, noticing the tribalistic behavior of others does not not make me a racist, because I'm aware of those things. Remember, I am half white, or if we want to get technical, Austrian or German. I also have some Welsh in me. All that's on my mother's side. So this isn't about hatred, it's about programs. And I'll tell you what, there are programs the Afghan people on my dad's side of the family that they live under as well. And maybe one day I'll do a tape for them in Farsi, the family that rejected me so long ago for my ideas. So this tribalism mentality is about people and programs and indoctrinations, and no one is immune from programming. But by being conscious of it, by being conscious of the unmindful tribalism, instead of creating tribes based on, equality, true equality and true